Welcome back to Generational Dr. Wealth, a personal finance show for doctors. This podcast is for educational entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice. Always consult your own professionals.
Hello, and welcome back to the next episode of the Generational Dental Wealth Podcast. This episode, we're going to be discussing the long-awaited Invest. This episode is so action-packed that we had to split it up into two different parts. Yes, you heard that right. Two different parts. So today, in part one, we're going to be discussing stocks, when to buy, when to sell, capital gains, and everything in between. So stick tuned and enjoy.
Hello. Welcome back to the Generational Dr. Wealth Show. My name is Dr. Jermaine Nafetti, and this is the Dr. Wealth Show, a personal finance show for doctors. And in this episode, we're going to be touching on number 5. This is the big one. This is literally the heart of the blueprint. It is invest. This is the one we always want to talk about. This is the fun one at parties that you tell people, hey, I invested in NVIDIA, I invested in Bitcoin, and it went to the moon. But first, we have to understand the principles of investing so we can invest responsibly. So, as you know, it's been a big buildup before we got to this step. Step number 1 of the blueprint, we had to make sure we're properly insured before we even thought about investing in investment accounts. Then step number 2, we had to make sure we had 1 month of income saved up. And then step number 3, we had to make sure we take care of all high interest debt, which is 8% or above. And then step number 4, we had to make sure we had 3 to 6 months of income, depending on your situation, saved up to make sure you can weather any type of storm. And we do all that before we even get to this step, invest. Why? Because the thing about investing is when you invest and you have to continually pull it out, you can actually be creating more damage than you are solving. See, the way that the American tax code is built is if you hold your stocks for 1 year or more in a traditional brokerage account, you get a lot of tax breaks and benefits, which instead of them taxing you on a gain, let's say you have a stock that was worth $1 and it went to $1,000. If you sell that stock within less than 1 year of owning that stock, that income is taxed at the normal rate of your normal income, of all your income. And being a doctor, it's probably going to be $100,000, $200,000, $500,000, pretty serious money. So the two ways that income from investments are taxed are, let's say, the first step. If you have it for less than a year and your $1 stock went to $1,001, right? So that means you have $1,000 gain. That $1,000 is put on top of how much income you already have made. So if you made $300,000 and you made $1,000 from that particular stock, you add that on top. And now you made $301,000 and it's being taxed at the highest rate possible to you, okay? Now, for instance, if you hold your stock for a year and a day, instead of it being put on top of your income, it's put into a whole different category called capital gains. Now, with capital gains, instead of it ranging from anywhere between 0 to 37, 39%, it's capped for anywhere between 0 and 20%. And very few people are even going to get to the 20%. Most people are going to be in between that 15 to 0% tax rate.
If you've been listening to the show, you probably heard us talk about the Doctor's Blueprint, the 9-step framework that helps doctors go from 6-figure debt to financial freedom. But a lot of listeners have asked the same question. How do I apply this to my own situation? That's exactly why we created the Dr. Wealth Blueprint Plan. It's a personalized financial roadmap designed specifically for doctors. We walk through your entire financial picture, your debt, insurance coverage, saving strategies, investment plan, and long-term goals, and then turn it into a clear step-by-step plan based on the doctor's blueprint. If you're interested, just text the word blueprint to 704-336-9313, and we'll send you the details and application. Again, that's blueprint to 704-336-9313 to learn more about the Dr. Wealth Blueprint Plan.
And that's a big deal because if you're a single earner making $300,000 and you're adding that extra income on top of it, you're being taxed at one of the highest rates available. Now, if you keep that stock for a day in a year, then it's going to be put into more of the 15% tax bracket. That means you cut your taxes in half. And the reason I'm starting here in this discussion about invest is because investments always work better when you have more time. Now, does that mean more time is going to help a bad investment? Absolutely not. So let's specify. Good investments work better with more time. So the first thing you have to decide is, how long can I stay in this investment? Then the second thing you need to decide is what investment I'm going to be in. See, what happens sometimes is a lot of people put those steps in reverse. They figure out what they want to invest in, and then they just stay in it as long as they possibly can. And whatever term it come your way, they hop right out. But that's why we have step number 4 preceding this step. We make sure we have 3 to 6 months of income. So regardless of what's happening in the market, what's happening in the real estate market, what's happening to the price of gold, whatever you're personally investing in, by making sure you have that 3 to 6 months of income set aside, you can now have faith in the asset that you're investing in itself. So now let's back it up even further. And let's talk about the difference between income and investing. See, the way I like to think about it is income is potential. Investing builds wealth. So a lot of us like to brag about how much we made in a year, but don't really understand how much we make can translate into how much that we build in wealth. So just same example. Let's say we made $300,000 last year. And let's say we invested $30,000 of that $300,000. Then technically somebody who made $150,000 and invested the same $30,000 has the same potential to build wealth even though they have half the income. And that's why it's key for you to figure out, how do I invest more instead of spending more? Because it doesn't matter how much you make if you're not investing a lot. Now, again, somebody who's making that same $300,000, if they invest $0, but somebody who makes $150,000, which is half of that, invests $30,000, that person might make half the amount of income, but the amount that they're investing is infinitely more. 0 to almost 20% of their income is infinite gain. And that's how you build wealth over time. Speaking of time, let's talk about the importance of time. As we talked about before, whether if you have an investment, we can call this a short-term investment, something that's less than a year, or a long-term investment, something that's been held for more than a year. When you have a short-term or a long-term investment, you have to understand that when I'm getting into this investment, do I understand how long I want to stay in it? Because by understanding that, you'll understand the importance of putting it into the right bucket. And that's why you'll see on the blueprint, there are 4 main ways to invest. And we put them in this order to make sure you're maximizing your dollars best. So you'll see on the blueprint 4 main accounts that have the best tax advantages for your next dollar. And as I continually say, I implore you, make sure you sit down and talk to your financial advisor or whoever you work with when it comes time to start investing. Because the worst thing you can do is invest the wrong way and think that you're investing the right way. You can actually create more damage than you think that you're actually solving. So for the blueprint, these are the 4 main accounts that most people will benefit from in this particular order. Number 1 is going to be your 401k employer match. Number 2 is going to be your health savings account if you qualify with a high deductible health plan. Step number 3 is your Roth IRA. And step number 4 is maxing out the remainder of your 401k. The reason these are put in this particular order is because each of these accounts have their own benefits. So let's break them down one by one and discuss these different benefits so you can understand why you're putting money in this account. And like I'm going to continually say, when it comes to your money, no one's going to care about it more than you. So you need to get a basic understanding of why these accounts matter so you can ask the right questions.
Hello, I'm Jonathan with Team Financials, and here at Team Financials, we make filing simple, accurate, and stress-free. Tax season does not have to be stressful, and we are here to make it as simple and stress-free as possible for you. Whether you need help with your personal tax return or your business owner looking for expert tax preparation, our experienced team is here to guide you every step of the way. We don't just file your taxes. Our slogan here at Team Financials is we educate so you can elevate, because when you understand your finances, you make stronger, smarter moves for your future. If you mention Dr. Wealth when filing with us, you will receive $75 off your personal and business tax preparations. Ready to get started? Please reach out to us at 704-412-4242 or book directly on our website at teamfinancials.com. Take care. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.
So let's break down the first one. This is your employer match. The reason this one is important is because this is a guaranteed gain. Meaning when you're usually putting money into the stock market or real estate, there's some turbulence that you're going to have to weather to be able to get the benefit of these different investments. But when it comes to an employer match, you are guaranteed that benefit. What exactly does this look like in real life? All right. So most corporations are going to do what they call a matching of what you put in, meaning you have to have some skin in the game. There are some corporations that, regardless if you put in or don't put in, they'll put money in on your behalf. It's called a non-elective contribution. Like, you don't have to elect to put it in, but they're going to continually put it in for you. All right. But for most scenarios, they're going to do a matching what you put in, and then they'll put some on top of that. So if I put in $1,000 and my corporation gives me $1,000, how much did I benefit in that transaction? That's 100% increase. I started with 1,000 and I ended with 2,000, and I had to do no work to get those extra dollars outside of saving and investing that into my employer 401k. Now, what happens if I put in 1,000 and they give me 500? How much did I gain from that? That's a 50% increase. You started with 1,000 and you ended up with $1,500. And that's how it works. Again, you can use bigger numbers depending on how much you're putting in, because usually people cap it at anywhere between 3 to 6% of your income for most places. But I've seen some employers that match up to 10%, which is wild. So get a good understanding of what your income is. You can multiply it times that percentage, and you'll get a good understanding of how much your employer is going to put in on your behalf. That's why we start here, because there's very few other accounts that's going to guarantee you a 50 or 100% return on your investment the same way this will. So if your employer offers a 401k match, whether it be you being self-employed or your employer providing it, thank yourself. Thank your employer, because you don't have to get this match, but it's given to you, and this gives you an opportunity to be able to build wealth at a very, very fast rate. Now that takes us to step number 2. This is your health savings account. I personally love this account because most people say this is a triple tax advantage account, but as I've said before, this is a quadruple tax account. Not only do you get a tax deduction as you put the money in, not only does the money grow tax-free while it's in the account, and then the money comes out tax-free when you use it for health-related expenses. But the hidden gem is the fact that you also get a state tax deduction on the way in as well, in every state except for New Jersey and California. That is a huge deal to be able to get that many benefits from $1. So again, let's use the same example. If I put $1,000 into my HSA because I have a high deductible health plan, on my taxes, it's going to reduce my income by $1,000. Now, while $1,000 is being invested, let's say into the stock market, if it gets any dividends or extra income from what I'm investing in, all that is tax-free. Then later, whenever I take those monies out for health-related expenses, all that money is also tax-free. See how a lot of people use the HSA is they put money in, they wait for an expense, and then they pay it with the HSA card. That's a good way to use it because you're still gonna get that front-end tax deduction on your income. So at least you're getting one of the benefits there. The most optimal way, especially if you have 3 to 6 months of income already saved up, is to use your HSA as another investing account. And that's why it's under invest, invest, invest. When you put those funds in, I want you to be in a safe space that you don't have to necessarily use those funds when it comes to your health related expenses. I know it sounds kind of crazy. Why would I put money into an HSA and not use it for health related expenses? And the main reason you don't do that is because the bucket of the HSA that you're putting money in, when you put that $1,000 into the HSA bucket, is protected from everything as far as taxes go. It's protected from your state taxes. Again, if you're not, as long as you're not in California, New Jersey, it's protected from your federal taxes. It's the income that's generated is protected. It's protected in so many avenues. So why would I be in a rush to take the money that I put in out of that account? Instead, you want to put that money in and you want to make sure you keep good documentation of all your health related expenses. As of current time of filming, there is no expiration date on when you can take your health related deductions. All right, so let's use an example. Let's say in a year, you and your spouse gave birth. Let's say that you went to your normal physicals and you paid your deductibles. Let's say you went to the dermatologist, you got whatever medications you need. Let's say you got massages throughout the year at a HSA approved location. You went to the chiropractor. Let's say all in, you spent about $10,000 on expenses. If you save all those receipts and document correctly, you can take that $10,000 out 20 years from now. You don't have to take it out today. But the thing is, imagine how much that $10,000 will grow to in 20 years if you give it time to grow. See, the stock market historically has returned 10 to 11% over the last 100 years. And of course, future gains are not promised by past gains, but if we take a look at history and history repeats itself, 10% gain on that $10,000 for 20 years will turn that into an astronomical amount of money. But if you take it out today, congratulations, you were able to pay for your expenses, but those dollars had so much more potential. And that's why we like to say income is potential, investing builds wealth. If you use that income to put into the HSA and take it back out to yourself as income, all you've done was turn potential into more potential. But if you put that income into your HSA and you invest it, you have now started the process of creating wealth. Now, that's why I love HSAs, and HSAs are such a huge advantage. And especially for me, because I don't really go to the doctor often. That's why these particular plans are linked with high deductible plans, because it gives you an opportunity to be able to lock in lower insurance premiums and to be able to put some money aside for a future rainy day and invest it in the meantime. Now, what I will say is be very cognizant of not taking an HSA plan if you know you're probably going to need to go to the doctor a lot more. For instance, if you're thinking you want to have a child, right? My wife isn't on an HSA plan. She's on a Cadillac plan. She's on one of the nicest plans possible. People don't know that you and your spouse can be on two completely different healthcare plans and still reap the same benefit. Now, I can't contribute as the entire family for HSA, which is double my individual max, but I can still contribute for myself. And whenever we're done having kids, God willing, we'll be able to now get her on the HSA and me on the HSA so we can continue to double and compound that benefit. So HSAs have a great timing effect that when you use correctly, you can build wealth exponentially fast. All right. So make sure you time it correctly and you're not on an HSA or a high deductible plan when you actually going to need to go to the doctor a lot more, because again, we can always move to step number 3 and put those extra dollars into what we call the Roth IRA. See, the Roth IRA has two main benefits. On the front end, when you put the money in, any growth that happens on the money is tax-free. Any income that was earned while in that account from dividends or payouts is all tax-free. Then number 2, whenever you take those funds out after 59.5, it's also tax-free. That's a very powerful tool. Now, that's on the tax-free side of things. But what's also a sneaky advantage to a Roth is after 5 years of having your money in a Roth, you can take any of the contributions you made out anytime tax-free. So let's say I put in $10,000 into a Roth IRA and 5 years later, I need to take it out. I can always take out the $10,000 I put in. I can't take the gains out, but I can take the $10,000 I put in out. That's going to be completely tax-free because I've already paid taxes on those dollars. Now, what I will say, I do not advise taking money out of your Roth IRA because it's such a powerful tool, such a legacy tool for you to leave to the next generation that avoids taxation. So those are the two advantages when it comes to the Roth IRA. On the tax side, you get to put the money in and it grows tax-free, and you get to take it out tax-free after 59.5. And then on the other half, any funds that you put in, you can take out after the first 5 years tax-free. Again, I don't advise that, but it's an option for a rainy day.
This show is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended to be financial, legal, or medical advice. We are not acting as your personal financial advisors. The strategies discussed are general in nature and may not be appropriate for your individual situations. You should always consult your own qualified financial, tax, and legal professionals before making decisions about your money. The host and guests are not responsible for any actions you take based on the information shared on this show.